Praising ragtag heroes and aspiring to be princesses, it's all just so sickening. Take it from someone who could never be that admirable or lacks so much style that no dress could ever suit him because they're all just so flippin' elegant, so why even bother? Why even bother trying to raise yourself to those lofty heights when you can lower yourself to be the much more enigmatic villain in Disney's Villainous? Disney's Villainous casts you and up to 5 others as some of the franchise's most dastardly devil advocates, attempting to screw up your film's timeline by completing your diabolical schemes instead of succumbing to gravity, being stabbed by a boat, eternal torture of the soul, or any of the other remarkably bleak demises, actually. Mostly gravity, though. And ooh, do we have a hefty selection of bad boys and wicked women to choose from. These days you can get a hold of 4 Villainous boxes that can build a roster of 15 baddies, making it the most ambitious Disney crossover ever. And no, I'm not acknowledging Kingdom Hearts until they make a Recess World. Each villain comes with their own deck of cards showing off the arsenal at their disposal, their IQ-less henchmen attempting to aid, the tools that are actually somewhat macabre when you really start to think about them, the defining quotes that'll ensure the audience doesn't totally despise them and at least make them endearing enough to create a full game about. The base game comes with 6 iconic villains, but the smaller boxes have some baddies in them that have truly stuck to the shadows. Yzma from the criminally underrated Emperor's New Groove, Pete from Steamboat Willie, and Mother Gothel from Tangled, a surprise addition when you consider they could have gone for Frozen with this one, but as we all know, Tangled is far better than Frozen, and before you take to the comments to complain, that's not an unpopular opinion. It's unpopular fact. Although when you start to dive into Villainous and muck about with everyone's schemes, you realise that these characters haven't been picked based on popularity or just randomly out of a hat, but on how much fun the designers of Prospero Hall can have injecting character into the rather basic mechanics that are on offer here. Each villain may have completely different goals to complete, but all share similar means to achieve them in these 8 basic actions. On your turn, you move your piece to a location and perform any of the actions there once. Gathering power, spending that power to play cards, move cards to other locations, and if you have enough henchmen there, get rid of some goody two-shoes while you're at it. Each villain's objective highlights what should have been in their respective films and indicates the first inkling of decrepit beauty in Villainous' design. Hades has to ensure 3 of his titans reach Mount Olympus to bring it down, but can only be summoned in the underworld, leading them to plod along slowly and making everyone very aware of how well you're progressing. Or my personal favourite, Dr. Vasilia, who has to build his own deck of fortune cards and ask players to draw 3 cards from it, hoping they'll pull out the Royal New Orleans card and tip the city into his control. A lovely little play on how his plans get kicked into motion in The Princess and the Frog. It's a game that leans so heavily on its theme that it's in danger of making its own spine as crooked as its morals, and some might look at the price tag and think, oof, a bit overproduced, isn't it? But personally, I think it's perfect for what the game is trying to achieve. These personalised card backs look like paintings that each villain would hang in their lair, and whilst these pieces could have been simplified, as they stand, towering over each realm, they represent their egos, fit to burst, and put you right in the frame of mind of a safe-for-work sociopath. These actions are catered to your antagonist's realm to help them achieve their ambitions, but there's one intended to utterly blunder everyone else's: fate. Yeah, everyone has their own deck of allies, but they also have a deck of goody two-shoes wanting to take them down. If someone performs a fate action against you, they pick 2 of these cards from the top of your deck and play 1 of them in your realm. When these are played against you, it can feel like a cactus has exploded, the amount of thorns you now have to remove from your side, because at best, well, these are effects that fade away but still are a complete nuisance if you want to complete your plans, and worse, these are heroes that come in and lighten up the place, blocking vital actions and locations that you desperately need to complete your schemes. They are frustrating, annoying, vile little meddlers. And the best thing about Villainous, adding a bunch of seasoning to a game already coated in flavour. Each villain's objective does say a lot about them, but what really gives them character is how they deal with do-gooders. A majority of the time you need to have allies with enough strength in an area to perform a vanquish action and kick a hero out, but sometimes the nasties have some wonderful ways of dishing out injustice. Take the Queen of Hearts, who isn't actually encouraged to use her allies for fighting, so she can shrink heroes, tilting them so they're only covering 1 action instead of 2. On the flip side, opponents can play fade cards so they make her heroes bigger, turning them around so they cover 3 actions instead of 2. Or Scar. Usually when you vanquish a hero, they're discarded and can come up again, but once Mufasa is done away with, he's taken out of the deck completely. Then anyone else Scar vanquishes after that has the same fate, being killed off to further his goals and...
Dad?
Oh boy. It is genuinely frustrating, to the point where you might be seething, to have these folks come in with their morals and add a bunch of steps to your, let's face it, already grand staircase of a plan. It's so annoying. Every time they're played, it feels like the worst time for them to be played. You have victory in your grasp and it just slips through your fingers, and you can't help but laugh, because you've seen this happen on screen so many times. At just the right moment, they come in and save the day, but that's exactly what you don't want. Finally, you are relating to a baddie, and you can see why all these peasants aren't all that pleasant. It just makes you lash out in paranoia and just makes you want to trip somebody else up because they're doing so well. Oh, I finally feel like a real YouTuber. I was playing as Captain Hook once, and his goal is to defeat Peter Pan, who's residing somewhere in the Fate deck. But that just meant no one actually played Fate cards on me, at a time where I actually needed them to. I had to dig into this deck using my own tools, and as I was desperately reaching the bottom of it, with no permanent boy in sight, without thinking I genuinely screeched, "Bring me Peter Pan!" loud enough to concern the neighbours. I'm sounding more and more dishevelled as this video goes on, but that actually perfectly replicates the game of Villainous as victory keeps slipping out of your reach, but I'm struggling to find a bad thing to say about it. However, if there is one murky truth lying in this game, it's not within the horrible characters, but on the box. Ages 10 and up, eh? Now, I hope I don't come off as patronising as I usually do here, but this isn't a matter of complexity. The base mechanics are very easy to learn, and any worries that will come with the alternate objectives are handled by these tiny villain guys that cliff note tips and tricks on how you can win without it ever feeling like you're cheating. But what I'm potentially overthinking here is that feeling of frustration that I really like. I know a lot of people who grew up with siblings that played classic board games where the mechanics felt like they were being cornered and bullied whenever they were losing. And these fate cards can roughly be translated to "f*** you" slips at times. No matter who you play as, in a roundabout way, these are kind of key to winning, because they can stop other people from achieving their goals and give you the chance to achieve yours. So they're firing around everywhere, but it's very hard not to take it personally when you're facing a wave of white cards and can't do anything about it on your turn. It's a very difficult feeling to process, and if you are a younger viewer, firstly, I'll censor out that swear from earlier, but secondly, that's pretty natural. I know a lot of adults that go through that even now, but if you're an adult, especially a parent, I've heard a lot of parents say, "Oh, I want to buy this for our kids," and maybe buy it on the basis of how these mechanics will make your kids feel, rather than the fact that it's just a Disney product, and even sit on the first few games if you must. Speaking of buying it, actually, Ben, surely you can't be saying I have to buy all of these? Well, no, I'm not. Anyone that's seen Dicey Exploits knows I'm a sucker for a game with good theme, and this was inevitable, but some would deem it excessive. So really the question is, if I'm interested in buying Villainous, where should I start? If you're looking to accommodate a large group frequently, the worst takes it all is the best, with 6 villains to choose from, and therefore a wide array of mechanics to muck about with. It's also the only copy to come with the cauldron to hold all your power, which is a deal breaker for some, apparently. If, however, you have a smaller group, you don't mind buying 2 of these smaller boxes to accommodate more people, or you really don't care about a cauldron, you honestly can't go wrong with either Wicked to the Core or Evil Comes Prepared, that one. Each contains some nice, in a nasty way, villains that you might not expect to come out in any game whatsoever, but also vary in complexity, giving everyone a nice shot at winning. The characters and sheer disgusting charm that comes from Perfectly Wretched, though, makes it my favourite, but it does have mechanics in it that extend beyond the simple ones that we know in regular games of Villainous. They're still incredibly simple, but I'd probably recommend it once you've got at least 1 box of Villainous on your shelf. But to be perfectly honest, feel free to just buy these if you like the characters that come with one edition. We've already established that all of these are incredibly accommodating to anyone, so it's perfectly fine to look at the back of a box, see a face you hate and go, "Oh yeah, sure, let's bring them in the house." I've played a few games that have cast you as the bad guy, but they've usually missed the mark for me. They often cast you as some invincible badass, or even worse, just some deplorable creature for the sake of edginess. The Villainous gets that being a bad guy isn't a breeze, but a full-time job. Just one you can make fun if you know who you're playing with and you have a sense of humour about yourself. And it understands its vast back catalogue of characters, their vile machinations, their huge egos, their pure patheticness, and puts it all in a deck of cards that finally allow you to see from their perspective and observe these heroes as nothing but pathetic, frustrating, annoying little nuisances. And that's something I didn't expect from a game like this, and is really quite remarkable. Though don't take this video as an endorsement for Cruella de Vil, okay? Puppies shouldn't be coats. Can we all agree with that?